Good morning.
Hey.
That's not it.
Why is that not it?
We've just officially, a few days ago, ticked over 2 months on the road. Just crazy times, just absolutely flying by, but thought it was probably time that we sat down and actually took our first YouTube video and
Update
reminisce
everyone.
on the shocker that was the first week to two.
Yeah, we had a bit of a nightmarish sort of first 2 weeks. A lot of it self-inflicted.
Massively. And in saying all of this,
really,
we're not saying we're not incredibly grateful to be doing what we're doing, and we still had a great time, but it's just, we're pretty renowned for just bad luck, I guess, if you want to call it that. Probably largely our fault, but we'll pretty much get into the fun that was the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, so to paint a picture, we took delivery of the car on the 27th of Jan, and we were meant to be leaving on the 18th of March. So it was a brand new car. I don't think we'd even started on the canopy or anything by then.
No.
And the reason for that was never planned to be like that, but we just had a lot of difficulty selling the Land Cruiser, and we couldn't commit to fitting out the canopy without having sold that for sure. We were still...
And also securing another car.
Yeah, we were still possibly taking the Land Cruiser at one point.
Yeah, a few crisis moments, but...
Yeah, so we had essentially like 5 weeks, and in that time we also had to empty our house, and any of the furniture that we kept had to go down to Albany from Perth. So that wasn't the easiest sort of shifting of things to do. But and then rent the place out. Fortunately, it's a quite competitive rental market at the moment, so there wasn't really much of a issue getting a tenant in. But
we also had Matt's 30th, and really luckily had my grandparents over from South Africa as well, which was awesome. But it was probably the most hectic couple of months of our life.
Oh yeah, without over exaggerating or anything like that.
Yeah, a few sleepless nights and just
Mates
things that we probably should have done. You look so tired.
Yeah. It's just that 2 months was largely spent without catching up with anyone. It was just working full time on getting this going.
So give me a little bit of insight to what's happening here.
The plan did not go to plan.
What plan goes to plan when it's us?
Yeah. So the water tank is otherwise millimetre perfect fit. It's good. But the outlet on top that we'll use is probably the filler point now rather than the breather. This one in the middle, of course, is there's not enough room to be able to put a fitting in. So when I say fitting, like an elbow or anything here, without hitting this front section of the tray, so I have to cut the brand new tray.
At what time? 7 p.m. on a Sunday night?
Yeah, the neighbours are pretty keen to see us go. Yeah.
It's probably about 20 minutes until no light.
Yeah.
And we've got to cut the tray, get it all back on, so good times.
That's what we signed up for.
Anyhow, we left 3 weeks later than our initial planned date, so we ended up leaving on the 5th of April at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night. We had just, like we said, we had been so sort of just completely consumed by setting this up, and we were like, we need to go.
Yeah, we'd had too many goodbyes.
Too many delicious last
teary
suppers.
Goodbyes and
we literally got to a point where we were like, just shove it all in the car. We're just leaving. Like, if we don't leave today, we're just not going to go. But a lot of that was also due to the fact that we had not sort of wanting to, but needing to, booked the first 6 weeks essentially of our trip with camps. Partially because it was April school holidays, the solar eclipse coming up, and then majority of the time we were spending was sort of on the Ningaloo coast, which if you're from WA, you know there's just no such thing as free camping along that area, sort of in that national park. So we had already missed out on 3 weeks of paid camping, missed out on a lot of places that we really wanted to do, like Steep Point, 14 Mile, all of that. All things we'll try and do again next year, but we not only had sort of another 3 weeks of camps that we had sort of booked and paid for, but we also had to get to Karratha for work. So we had a little bit of a timeline that was holding us.
For the first part, there was a lot of
pressure with time and places and that sort of thing. So we were like
people in Karajini,
which was amazing. But we sort of just had places that we needed to be at certain times. But essentially, we were just under the pump to get going. So we left at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and to just kickstart us off, like we were on Mum's and Gav's street still. Just said goodbye.
Less than 50 metres away, basically.
Not
from
even,
the house. Yeah.
like 10.
And we started hearing
like
what sounded like a screw or nail in the tyre, and not wanting to pull over there and then.
Just like went around the corner.
Yeah, we just went down the next street and pulled over and checked the tyres, and thankfully, because they're brand new tyres, they were just catching a few more rocks. So that, we dodged a bullet there.
Honestly, would have been our luck as well, though, and probably just a sign from the universe: don't leave at 9 o'clock at night. But anyway, we only made it as far as Jurien Bay that night, which is about 2.5-3 hours from Perth, and pulled into a little stop, which was actually really nice. And then sort of got up early and at it the next day and headed for Geraldton. And we still had quite a list of things that we had to get, and spent a lot of time between Bunnings and
BCF. Thankfully, they were right next door to each other, so that was an easy walk across the car park.
Yeah. We were supposed to get to Ballara Station that day for 2 nights.
But it's just south of Exmouth.
Yeah. It had just taken us so long to get everything sorted in Geraldton that we weren't going to make it there by sunset, and you had to be there by sunset, so we had to forego a night there as well, which we were pretty sad about. But went to just out of Carnarvon. Yeah,
just south of Carnarvon, Energy Camp, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Camped there the night, and then the next morning, somewhere around in that time, we'd worked out
dinner
that,
or whenever.
that we'd forgotten the gas hose for our 2-burner gas stove. So we've got a Weber and the gas stove, forgotten the gas hose for the gas stove amongst all the chaos of moving stuff around.
So no coffee the next morning or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, it's fine, we're going into Carnarvon today, we'll go. And there was a few other things that we had forgotten, but we were like, we'll go get a gas hose. Got into Carnarvon and we're like, it's really quiet here. Good Friday.
Yeah.
So of course everything was closed. We did buy a coffee, which was great, but it meant that we couldn't restock on any of the things that we had forgotten. And then obviously it was Easter long weekend, so anyway, we made it to Ballara that day.
You did say, we had a coffee, but it was also a really...
It was awful.
Awful coffee.
Yeah, and we had one in Geraldton as well, from a place called Shay's Cafe, also not great.
Yeah.
But anyway, we made it to Ballara eventually on the Friday night, which absolutely was like our saving grace. It was first Friday night of the season there, so it was their first burger night, and it was just like, it was so good. We had a great time.
Ballara was...
just came at
a much needed time.
So much so that we actually ended up going back. But anyway, we then the next day we headed to South of Roy. So
we never planned to go out to, of course, South of Roy and do this off-grid camping so early on, but we had to go out there. So that is just up Ningaloo Road from where we were at Ballara Station. That's the road you take, and after speaking to people and having now experienced it, it can be quite corrugated basically. So we weren't prepared for that.
And as we said, we had shoved everything in the car, like it was just
so we nearly lost the spare tyre on the tinny. We also, during the build of the car, did the majority of the work ourselves, and one of those things was fitting the bull bar. And we, a mate and I that did it, thought we left enough clearance for the bodywork. No. So that caused a bit of grief. It's damaged the headlight just a little bit. It's only scuffed the headlight, thankfully not cracked it or anything like that. I nearly lost the headlight protector because of it. That was an experience getting to South of Roy in the first place. And then we got there, and not only were we going to be off grid, and we just weren't 100% prepared, but the coast was starting to feel the cyclone Ilsa, was it?
Yeah, of course. It was like our only stretch of time on the Ningaloo that we had left, and good old cyclone Ilsa was coming through. So it wasn't terrible when we got there, but sort of like half an hour after being there, the wind had sort of started to pick up. That was on the Sunday, I think, and the cyclone came through over on the Thursday. But you could definitely sort of already start to feel the effect. And a lot of people say the weather will make or break your stay at South of Roy. Definitely broke it for us.
Didn't like it.
We just got whipped for 4 days, to the point where some nights we were like, we couldn't even cook because there was just literal sandstorms. We're having like peanut butter on bread for dinner, and
so not only did we have stuff falling out of the car all the time, and the canopy wasn't 100%, just with like trying to work out where things are going to best live. It was getting then full of sand from all the sand being whipped around. It was just repeated.
Honestly, it was just relentless. But I'd really pushed to get a tinny before we left, and mostly for this sort of part of the coast. So we managed to get it in the water and had full intentions of going out that next morning. There was like a little gap in the morning where it was going to be quite calm. And I think that first morning...
No, it was the second morning. Actually. Yeah, the second morning the battery died. So the auxiliary battery, that is, the battery in the canopy. One of the things that I hadn't done before us leaving, which I knew about and we just got away with up until now because of all the kilometres we'd been doing, was the sense wire for the DC-DC charger, which you need to have on modern vehicles. So yeah, the battery died. Yeah,
so that was great. So obviously everything was thawing out.
Yeah, and these batteries, when they die, we've got a lithium, iTech lithium, go into a safe mode. To be able to bring that out of a safe mode, you have to jump start it, and it's behind the fridge and behind the pantry. So thankfully the pantry just slides out and the slides can remove that, but then have to get behind the fridge and remove the battery. Had to find someone with jumper cables to be able to jump start the battery from our own.
Yeah.
Got all that sorted, and then during that stay as well, or that first couple of days, a couple or a family that moved next to us had been at South Florida already. Their tinny had died basically, the motor had an issue, so
they were at a different site and then moved next to us, so they needed to move their tinny essentially down.
So using our tinny, we towed them well, maybe a couple of 100 metres, maybe further than that actually, maybe half a K down the beach, save them walking the boat down, and they really appreciated that.
Yeah, super kind.
As a result, I was talking to him when taking him to the boat about us not having bait because we don't normally carry it. They gave us a pack of bait, which was great, really nice and really appreciated, but the following morning the battery died again. So we had frozen bait that had then thawed out in the Engle and
leaked everywhere.
Yeah. And on the second occasion of this battery dying, we thought maybe it was a issue with the battery. So we then went all the way into Exmouth from South Lefroy via Yardie Creek, which was not a nice smooth road either. It wasn't too bad.
To the point where when we stopped, because I think there was supposed to be a reception there and we were going to try call iTech and yada yada, we went to go get into the canopy to air up and couldn't. We were locked out. So something had fallen down and essentially blocked the handle.
On both handles on this side, actually, on this pantry side, which we need to get into to be able to air up.
So about solid 5 minutes of Matt just literally yanking at the canopy door to try and get it open, and like you can just see the frustrations were building by this point. Managed to get into Exmouth, found someone who was really kind and helped us jump start and get out of safe mode and all of that. So
worked out in the end that it wasn't the battery, and that we just weren't managing maybe consumption. We're running both an 85 litre fridge in the canopy and a 40 litre Engle as a freezer on the back seat as well. So between the two, the freezer, especially on warmer nights, was chewing a lot of power. So
it was just a nightmare. Anyway, we managed to get through South Lefroy. I think we went fishing once in the afternoon, unsuccessful, very. But it was just so windy. Then we made it to Windarabandi for one night, and this was the day before the cyclone, so winds were well and truly up. And we sort of got there and went and checked in, and we didn't realise, but we had booked a site directly on the beach, and we had about like 4 families to the left of us and like 5 groups to the right of us, so we were sandwiched right in between everyone, and we were just like,
after the chaos we'd already had was the last thing we wanted to have to deal with. So we fortunately were able to go and camp elsewhere at Windarabandi after speaking to the caretakers. But that was a windy night. Even where we did try and shelter, it was another windy night there. We
had our awning wall fly off, and it was just like it just kept happening. And I vividly remember one memory from Windarabandi before we move on is we had obviously had all these storage issues with the car, and Matt, obviously we're both very frustrated at this point, opened the back door, and one of our like stainless steel water bottles literally came flying from the other side, like hitting everything on the way down, and fell onto the floor. And I think we had just both had enough at that point. And Matt just picked it up and legged that thing like so far. I think we felt better after that, but then yeah, he just sat there with the towel wrapped around his head, sheltered from the wind, and we just had a minute, and then we were good.
Because the flies were quite bad as well.
They were awful as well.
Not to whinge, but
yeah, but it was just like all the little small things were really just adding at that point.
So then after Windarabandi, we had 4 nights at Tulkey, and it was still, as we said, still so windy everywhere. Got to Tulkey, and I think it was it was the first night.
You're just completely exposed there as well.
Yeah, there's no shelter at Tulkey Beach from the sun or from the wind or anything. So tried to set up there. The wind, of course, meant that there was nothing really good to do on the water. The snorkeling at Turquoise Bay wasn't going to be great. The viz
Turquoise Bay was not turquoise that day.
Yeah, the viz in the water wasn't great. So yeah, we dealt with the first night, and on the first night we were getting gusts of over 30 knots. And we're, of course, living out of this vehicle for a year, so I didn't want to destroy the rooftop tent on the first week or two. Tried sleeping in the car for a little bit. That just wasn't working.
I had a heat rash on the back of my legs, so my feet were up in the air, and Matt was like squished behind the steering wheel, and it was just a nightmare. We eventually, we couldn't sleep, and it was like 2 o'clock. We got out, we repositioned the car, and managed to sleep for like a few hours. But we had another 4 nights booked there, and we were like, the cyclone was actually hitting the next day, and we're like, we might be precious right now, but we cannot do this. So we retreated.
Well, we looked at it and we saw that we were going to be there for another 2 or 3 days of average weather, for 1 or 1.5 days of good weather over the following Sunday, Monday, prior to the eclipse. So we just called it and retreated back to Ballara Station.
Yeah, saving grace.
Yeah, went through Exmouth, caught up with a mate in Exmouth, stocked up there, and got to Ballara, and thankfully, life was a lot better there.
Yeah,
the battery
died again
in Ballara, which was when we finally worked out that it was sort of our power consumption was just a bit excessive for the battery that we have, and it's 100 amp lithium, so
120 amp.
Yeah, but 100 amp usable. 104. Yeah. So anyway, got to Ballara, and then from Ballara, which was a little bit windy but much better because it's closer inland, we then did 1 or 2 overnight stays, free camps maybe. Oh, I should mention that in addition at Tulkey,
the ladder,
icing on the cake, the ladder, because we had it out of the way while we were cooking at one point, blew over and busted all the...
This is the ladder to the rooftop tent,
busted all the buckle for the strap and stuff on that. Just little things that you, on a standard day where everything's rosy, it is what it is, but it just mounts on you. So
yeah, we would say, if you can, leave when you're ready. Don't do what we did.
Yeah,
it's just like, we were like, no, we've got all these things to do, but it'll be better to do them on the road. Like, let's just get going, yada yada yada. First of all, don't pre-book. Second of all, just leave when you're ready. Like, it was just, again, so grateful to have been doing it, but it was honestly just chaos, and this was off the back of 2 months of just pure chaos as well. So
so we were already pushed to our limits from that as well, fatigued and stressed, and still coming down from that. But we, after Ballara, got to Nanyatara, and frantically on that Sunday afternoon before BCF shut, speaking to my brother, trying to get solar panels and a jump starter, so that if the battery did die again, I didn't have to take it out of the canopy every time. By this time I'd already taken it out of the canopy 3 or 4 times. So now that we've got that, we haven't used it at all, but
so
great.
Thank you to Michael and Adele, he saved our lives then.
So on the Sunday afternoon, frantically trying to make sure that BCF's XTM solar panels that we got were going to be compatible with our system, which they were, and then getting Michael, my brother, to the right BCF in time to be able to pick it up, and a legend, he was able to do it for us, who then dropped it off to one of our other mates, old housemates, best mates, Adele, who was able to then bring it up with her when she was flying to site.
These 2 absolute legends helped us, and we managed to sort of get to Karatha before we were going and doing a few other bits and pieces, and life's been pretty good since.
I think the only thing to add from all of that is we were heavily over budget.
Oh my god!
For the first couple of weeks because of all of this, buying those few extra things and just dealing with what had happened. So
we were definitely lucky we had work upcoming.
I think to finish it off, we had 40 mile south of Karatha with my sister, partner, and
2 girls.
and 2 girls. So we were able to hang out there for the solar eclipse, which was really quiet. Meanwhile, Exmouth had roadblocks and people getting turned around if they didn't have accommodation and that sort of thing. So we were away from the crowds and able to chill out. Still a bit of wind, but yeah, it's sort of, yeah.
Finally started to hit our stride then. I think it was, And I mean, since it's been amazing, like we have so much to share. We've honestly just had the best time. Yeah, we haven't even left WA yet, so we're now in Broome, and we're just about to start the Gib hopefully tomorrow. Come into a few obstacles again before leaving, but I'm sure you'll hear about it.
Yeah, we'll go through those at a later time, but yeah, key takeaways, I guess, and make sure you're prepared. Was it the 5 P's?
Learn from us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway, we will catch you next time.